Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To. On today's video, we'll be taking a look at a very inexpensive stick vacuum cleaner that might be just the thing you need to tidy up your home. Keep watching to find out more. Okay, so in today's video we're taking a look at a stick cordless vacuum from the people over at Easine by iLife. This is the H55. Now this company, if you've not heard of them, actually have a pretty decent range of vacuums, which I'm actually new to, so this is going to be really interesting to see what they do, what the quality is like, what the engineering's like, all those kinds of little things which make a massive difference when using a stick or cordless vacuum. You can get some on the market which are exceptionally cheap and they're not great. They kind of implode after a few uses. So it's going to be interesting to see what the quality is like, to see if this is going to live up to a little bit of long-term abuse, which frequently happens in the Mub household. So let's go through, do a quick unboxing, go through the packaging, etc. I'll then charge the battery up, because obviously you need to charge the battery up because it is a cordless vacuum, and then we'll give it some practical tests, and we'll come back at the very end with my final thoughts and my recommendations. So starting off looking at the packaging, as you can see, this is the H55 model cordless stick vacuum cleaner. It has 10.5 kPa of powerful suction. It also has a 0.9 to 1.1 adjustable height, which is actually something pretty unique to stick vacuums, or at least as far as I can tell. Generally, the extension one there is just an extension wand, and it literally is a one size kind of fits all, which for some people, if you're slightly shorter, or maybe if you're slightly taller, may find it slightly uncomfortable when using a vacuum, or just not particularly appropriate. For this, you can extend it again quite a bit, so you can reach those harder to reach areas, or if you're a slightly shorter person, things like doing the stairs and smaller areas should be a little bit easier. Also, we've got a large dustbin on this one, so generally again on these kind of more cost-effective vacuums, you generally lose a little bit of everything, a little bit of power, a little bit of suction, a little bit of battery life, and also a little bit of storage. But this one actually has a 1.3 litre dustbin, which should be enough to do most homes pretty easily. I've used considerably smaller ones and still managed to do the home, so this is going to give you the opportunity to maybe do a couple of attempts at vacuuming without having to empty the bin every single time. Looking on the side of the box, we've got some of the specifications, so I'll give you a close-up of that so you can see what it is. This is actually a multi-voltage version, so this will work in voltages between 100 and 240 volts. Obviously, depending where you buy this from, there will be links in the video description. You will get a mains power plug, which is appropriate to your particular region. Ours comes with a 3-pin UK plug, but yeah, if you're in Europe, etc., then your plug may be slightly different. Rated power is 130 watts, charging time of somewhere around about the 5 hours mark, which actually for a 26 volt battery of this kind of size seems about right. There isn't a quick charge in this. That actually will benefit you in the long run because the battery will actually last a little bit longer in its lifespan. Also there you've got the product weights, dimensions, etc, etc, and yeah, that is pretty much it for what is on the box. On the other side of the box tells you what you actually get inside, but we'll find out that anyway. But yeah, obviously there is a close-up should you wish to see it. So let's get on and see what we actually get inside the box. So I'm going to give you a top-down shot of this so you can actually see what is going on in detail. And I have actually gone through this and removed most of the packaging purely for the fact that, well, plastics just make a horrible noise on camera. So starting off, first of all, we've got our warranty guide, so you can fill it out and send it off and tells you about how to claim on a warranty should you need to. You get a pretty substantial user manual there with various languages in there included, which is awesome. So let's get through to the kind of the nitty-gritty of it. So first of all, there is one of these cool little tools. So this is actually like a detangle tool. So when you get the hair, which inevitably you will do, actually on the brush rollers itself, such as these, you can actually use this and it kind of scrapes along and it will slice up the hairs, which is all good. On the other end, there is a nice little brush attachment. So again, you can use that to clean some of the crevices actually inside the vacuum itself. So yeah, very handy. There is a brush roller. So this is the slightly more stiffer bristle brush roller, just with a single kind of helix section there. So that can be used on slightly, possibly coarser carpets. Your mileage may vary. You do actually get two in here. So there is another one, a slightly softer one. So you might find one that works really well across your entire house and you can stick with that. But yeah, you do get the option of two. So that's always a good thing to see. Next up, we've got a nozzle attachment. So this is your kind of multi-tool. So this is just a compression fits on the end of the vacuum. You've got the traditional kind of nozzle there for getting into these hard to reach areas. And if you want to do a bit of dusting as well, you can extend this section out and there is some bristles on the end, which actually are quite stiff bristles. So that should be good for agitating things. That's going to be good for things like in between those hard to reach bits in maybe sofas, carpets, that kind of thing, down along the skirting boards. Again, pretty much anything you choose to do with it. So yeah, that's all good, and the fact that that is kind of captive on there, so you're not going to lose the end bit, awesome, like that a lot. Next up on this top section is actually a wall mounting bracket. Now this is actually going to be really useful if you're thinking of maybe getting one of these for maybe a student, or you're living in rented accommodation where you can't actually drill things into walls, etc. You don't actually have to wall mount this if you don't want to. It is completely optional. So if you do want to do it and you can drill into the surfaces, then you can use this to hook the vacuum onto, but you don't necessarily have to, as we'll see as we go through. They do obviously include some screws and also some wall plugs there, so yeah, mounting purposes, all that is included. Obviously you will need a drill of your own. Next up is the extension one. So as you can see, this is actually a pretty decent unit. It actually feels really heavy as well. It's got a lot of weight to it. You do find with some of these extension ones, they are a little bit on the flimsy side and possibly mostly plastic, which have a tendency to snap or deform as they're going along. But it's actually really cool. And one of the nice things about it is this is in the compacted size. So all you do, press in the button here, and then you can extend it to kind of almost double the size. So that will do a particularly good area. Now there are indentations on here, so you can press the button in, find a size which fits for you, and tailor it to your exact needs and leave it in that position so it's ready to go all the time. If you need a little bit of extra length on it, then all you do, extend it out, or if you're doing a slightly closer section, then yeah, you can reduce it right in, which, yeah, I really like that. Also, this unit does contain the power as well, so there is power connections top and bottom, so this will pass power through from the unit itself to the powered brush head. Looking a little bit deeper into the box, so we've got some more of our bits and pieces here, so let's take a look at this one first. So this is going to be our power adapter. Now the power adapter, like I said, this is a separate unit. You don't have to actually wall mount or anything. There's no docking station as such. Literally all you need is a 13 amp plug socket, or whatever socket is relevant in your local area. This one is a 26 volt, I believe. Yep, 26 volts, and is 300 milliamp hours. And on the end of it, it's just one of those simple barrel type connections. And the cable itself, looking around about just over, probably about 1.5 meters, 2 meters. So it doesn't have to be right next to the power socket, which is quite handy. You can, of course, if you haven't got a power socket handy, just use an extension cable to a 13 amp plug. No problems there at all. Next up is going to be the battery. So this is your battery unit, which very simple to do. Literally just slots into the back of the unit. A detachable battery is always preferable because if anything goes wrong with it, it's very easy to replace. You can just get on the phone, go to their website, etc., and order yourself a new battery should you wish to. This one is a lithium ion battery, 2,200 milliamp hours and 22.2 volts. So yep, no problem there. Pretty much standard effect these days, and should last you, I would have thought, realistically, probably about 40 to 50 minutes. Again, depending on what you're vacuuming, where you're vacuuming, if you're using the brush head, etc. But realistically, you should be able to do an entire house, top and bottom, normal kind of 2-bed, 3-bed house. You shouldn't have any issues at all doing a complete house clean. Again, if you want to do a larger house, then maybe you want to think about getting an additional battery. Next up is the motorized brush head. So yeah, nice unit actually, very well constructed. Handy feature, which I really like and I actually miss when I'm not using a vacuum with this feature, is on the front here we've got the illuminated LED head. So you've got 5 LEDs in there which will shine onto the carpet or to your surface that you're actually vacuuming. You can actually see the dust on the floor, so it's really handy. Some people don't like doing the traditional kind of up, down, up, down, up, down all through the floor. You just want to have a scan around and just pick up any bits which are obviously kind of dirty or debris. If maybe you've cut your hair at home or had a shave or something, you've got some hairs on the floor, then this will pick those up really easily and highlights the task, just makes life a little bit easier. And also it's great if you're doing a whole house vacuum. Maybe you live in a country where it's a little bit darker, or maybe the sun rises in one side of the house and falls in the other. It isn't a problem because this lights up and shows you the way, so you can pretty much vacuum the whole house without turning any of the lights on, should you wish to. Obviously that may be a safety issue, so yeah, don't always do that, but yeah, you don't necessarily have to turn the lights on because this will light the way for you. On the back we've got some nice rubber wheels on there, which will keep things nice and steady. On the top we've got the quick release section, so press the button in there and you can release the wand, or you can release it from the main unit itself. You don't have to use the extension wand, you can just use that straight away. Nice flexible section in there, and you can actually look through. There's like an inspection section there, so you can see if anything's actually blocking it. But even if there is, it actually looks like it's quite easy to get to, which is always a good thing for when you vacuum up those things you shouldn't do, like Q-tips or cotton buds, that kind of thing, or maybe a pencil, that sort of stuff. Those things always tend to get stuck in that little section. You can move that down a little bit, and that does adjust as well when the unit has actually got the top section plugged into it. So yeah, that's all good. And actually looking at that, yeah, there's almost a completely straight through path there. So you could actually take the brush bar out and kind of push any debris straight out. So that's good for blockages, etc. Nicely made as well, nice and strong, sturdy, nice decent plastics. You've also got the section there so you can have a look through, inspection area, which they always get dirty. There's nothing really you can do about those, especially if you've got pets, animals, etc., or if you go through anything which might be a little bit damp, then those do get a little bit dirty, but you can always clean those up if you want to. The head itself, like I said, is motorized, so that's always a nice thing to see, and it's really easy to actually change out the brush roller as well. So if it does get a bit gunked up, or it gets dirty, or it goes through something it shouldn't do and it gets filthy, then all you need to do is just pull that across to the side, and then you can pull the actual roller out. Nice and easy to do. And again, they do supply you with 2 rollers, so maybe if it does get a little bit mucky, you can always wash it under the tap, give it a good clean, let it dry for a few hours or overnight, and you can use the other brush roller should you wish to in the meantime while you're waiting for the other one to dry. There is also a rather thick kind of velour type finish there, so that is going to kind of polish the floor after as you go along, and also pick up any of those other sort of really tiny fragments which otherwise might be left behind by the actual brush roller and the suction itself. But yeah, overall decent, not particularly heavy, and hopefully it's going to be pretty maneuverable. So the last part of the equation is the actual unit itself, which is this here, and actually it looks really nice. I like the orange and silver accents. Plastics as well, nice decent constructed plastics. Doesn't feel particularly cheap or anything like that. It actually feels pretty sturdy, and if you were to pick this up and pick up a Dyson, you can kind of normally get that sort of feel, the quality of plastics, and actually I would say this probably actually feels a little bit nicer and a little bit more sturdy, especially with the way Dyson seems to be going at the moment. But yeah, for a budget version, this actually seems to be pretty decent. You'll probably notice as well, there is one of these filters on the floor here, or on the table rather, and there is a reason there is actually 2 of these installed, which is actually really good. A lot of manufacturers seem to have now gone over to these washable filters. So with this filter, when it gets a bit mucky after a week or a couple of months, depending on obviously your house, you can just rinse that out, give it a wash, let it dry. Always let these dry until they're fully dry, which is the reason why they generally give you 2 of them. So you get a spare, and also inside this 1.3 litre collection area, there is another one in the holder. So all you do is unscrew, and there you go. There is your other filter. So 2 of those included, which is always a nice thing to do. It's one of those things you don't really want to have to buy another one, or you don't want to have the inconvenience of maybe it getting a bit mucky and think, oh, give that a good clean, give it a clean, and then you're waiting for it to dry off and I don't really want to use it because I'll damage the motor. So having 2, absolutely brilliant. This section here as well, completely plastic, and this is all your kind of filtration for the larger filtered areas. Again, really simple to clean. It is completely plastic, no electrical parts, nothing you can't actually get to, so you can actually get your hands in there and get any dust and debris out, which is awesome. And same goes for the bottom, so it's all pretty well exposed. So yeah, filter goes in there, and then that goes into the collection section here, which is actually, again, like I said, pretty big, 1.3 litres, so nice section to do it with. The only thing I would say, there is a small kind of gotcha on this. It's not a particularly bad one, but I do find actually getting this back into the unit itself, actually getting it to line up on the bottom, is one of those things, it doesn't kind of work first time. You do have to kind of twist it around a little bit. There's a notch on the bottom, and you have to get it lined up, push it around, and then turn it 90 degrees, and that fully locks it into position. I do find that that particular mechanism isn't as simple as I've had on some other vacuums, but certainly it does get the job done. It works very well, and the best part of it is the fact that it's obviously very easy to clean, which is sort of an important thing with vacuums, especially again if you live in a household where you've got kids, cats, pets, etc. These things do get really mucky, so it's nice to be able to really take it apart and get to all those nooks and crevices, which actually looks to be very easy to do inside of there as well. The internal section is very flat, so any marks or dirt or stuff is going to be very easy to get to, like that lot. There is a rubber diaphragm around the bottom of the lid there, and again, it's a fully sized opening, so as you look there, if you press the button, it swings right back, so any debris which is going to be in there is going to come out nice and easily. It's not one of those ones where it kind of only opens that far, or it's kind of half, which yeah means you have to get your hands inside and take things out, which is never a particularly nice thing to do. So on the vacuum itself, on the top, you've got the kind of the air exhaust at the top there. You've also got 3 LEDs, so that is your charging LEDs and also power LEDs. So when it's charging, those will cycle, as you probably see from some B-roll. When it's in use, it'll tell you the power level that it's actually at. And just behind that, you've got a toggle button, which is for the max mode, so that boosts the power. So in those particularly stubborn areas, you can boost the power. Obviously, if you do put the boost on, it is going to reduce your battery time considerably, as with all of these kind of cordless stick vacuums. So yeah, do bear that in mind. We'll see what the suction's like a little bit later on, see what the modes are like, see how different it is. Some of the times you don't actually need the turbo mode, you can just go ahead and do your thing. But obviously, yeah, if you're maybe cleaning out your car and there's those really stubborn bits down in the seats and you've got your nozzle on there, a little bit of extra power will get in there a little bit further. The handle itself, really nice. Obviously ambidextrous, suitable for left or right handers, and it's actually quite narrow as well. So you can get a really nice firm grip on it. There's a trigger on the bottom, so you press the trigger in, it starts the vacuum. You don't have to keep the trigger held down, which if you suffer from some sort of disability, or you've got arthritis, or just you've got painful joints, then you don't have to keep it pressed in, which can be a little bit uncomfortable. Although saying that, the switch itself does seem to be actually very well made, and it does seem to fit perfectly, which it can't be said for all vacuums. So yeah, turn it on, and it toggles on and off. Again, max button on the top. I think that is pretty much it. On the front, you've got the section where you connect up your attachments. So depending on what you want to put on, you can, if you want to, just put on like the crevice tool, or alternatively, you can put on the cleaning head, put it on straight away, and that just locks into position. So if you want to do maybe the stairs or carpet, then that's nice and easy to get to. In a car, in the boot of the car, doing the carpets in there, that's going to be really handy to do that with the motorized head. Nice and easy to take off, so you just press the button in and that slides off. Yeah, all well and good. On the battery section on the back, again, it's just a slot in section, so you just get your battery and line up the notches on the side, press the button down, and then that locks it into place. So just press the button and then you can remove it, and that's what locks it in and out of place. When you want to charge it, literally all we do, grab your charging cable, plug it in the back there, and it will start charging. So nice and easy to do. Again, if you're in like a workshop environment, or maybe you're, again, rented accommodation where you can't be drilling holes and stuff, or you just don't want to have a vacuum hung up on a wall somewhere in your house, this is actually really convenient. You can put this in like a cupboard under the stairs, or just hide it out of view, keep it charged, keep it near a plug, and when you need to use it, just disconnect that and you're ready to go. Absolutely brilliant. So that's enough of the intro of it, me waffling on about stuff. Let's give it a charge, and then we'll give it some practical tests, and then we'll come back with my findings. Okay, so we've done some testing, and I'm pleased to say it's actually a very good vacuum, and it lives up to basically what it says on the box. It is extremely powerful. Now there is a downside to it, as you'll probably see from some of the B-roll, and I may have to adjust the sound volume accordingly because it's actually quite loud. Now that is obviously one of the trade-offs, so if you want a very powerful stick vacuum, a battery vacuum, whichever the case may be, it is going to be a little bit on the noisy side, which for me personally, I'm not particularly bothered about it. And as you'll see again from some of the B-roll, the cats weren't particularly bothered by it. Daisy was actually on the settee while I was doing some other vacuuming, and she just was looking with interest, but wasn't absolutely terrified and legged it out of the room. So there is that to it. In use, very easy to use, very lightweight, actually very maneuverable. Again, you've probably seen it from some of the footage we've already shot. It's just a very easy to use vacuum, and something which I was very surprised by, which is not always the case. Actually using the motorized brush head roller, it actually didn't pick up hardly any hair at all, which normally, because I live in a house with many females, generally these rollers get absolutely covered. Now I've just noticed there's one hair on there, which yeah. Normally, when I use any of my other vacuums, even some of the famous branded ones, which you may have heard of before, normally I have to go through every single day and sort of detangle all the hairs on this. So actually, that's come out particularly good, and it's one of those other things which I don't have to do. Absolutely brilliant. Using it, the vacuum, again, very powerful, managed to pick up pretty much everything we put on the floor. Did some black pepper, which is always a little bit of a tough one for some of these vacuums, and actually picked up, and as you'll probably see from the footage, done it very easily. And even some of the larger things, such as the salts, the like Himalayan rock salt, that was vacuumed up very easily. Things like crumbs on the counter using the crevice tool worked very well. And actually the crevice tool is one of the highlights. The bristles on it are actually pretty stiff, so they do agitate really, really well. Absolutely perfect for cleaning out keyboards, even Kath's keyboard, which is absolutely filthy. Done particularly well on there. When it comes to doing soft dusting, like the kind of ornaments, that kind of thing, I think the bristles are going to be a little bit too stiff for that. So yeah, obviously do be careful with anything which is delicate. It isn't a particularly soft brush on there, but for normal cleaning tasks and getting into those really hard to reach areas, such as the bits alongside the skirting board where your carpet meets the skirting board, that is always a tricky one. And most head type vacuums don't touch it at all. So going around after with that, with those stiff bristles, really does agitate all the dust and muck which gets kind of trapped in there. Got out very, very well. I was also really, really impressed with the telescopic wand. It's surprising actually how much of a difference this makes to the overall ergonomics and the usability of it. Everybody is a different size and shape, and people have got obviously longer arms, shorter legs, whatever. Well, yeah, in my case, definitely. So being able to actually adjust this on the fly and choose a particular level and let it lock into position, really, really good. I like that a lot. And using just the head on its own works extremely well. Again, another thing which I've not been able to do before, which was unusual, was actually doing the sofa. Actually cleaning the sofa with the motorized head, just to have it connected on there so I didn't have to go back running back for another attachment. Just plug it in and it went over all of the leather, no problems at all, no scratches. Again, because we've got that really nice soft bristle head in there, it goes across the leather, doesn't scratch it, doesn't destroy it, which other vacuums tend to. And some of the vacuums, because of the way that the head is designed, the suction is a little bit too much, so you try and do some leather and it just sticks in one place, or the head jams up and it stops. This didn't have any problems at all, which again is a first for me. Generally I have to change the head over for something else, use a crevice tool, that kind of thing, which if you're doing a larger sofa, 3-seater, 2-seater sofa, can take absolutely ages with one of these things. So to actually be able to use the motorized brush head across the furniture was excellent, and it didn't pose any problems whatsoever for our shaggy rug either. Went over it from transversing from the flat laminate flooring to the really shaggy pile rug. No issues with it whatsoever, either in this kind of handheld mode or with the extension bar on there as well. Just did it really, really well. All the other things like doing the stairs, actually I found doing the stairs, even with the extension wand in there and just using it as you would normally as an upright vacuum, because it's actually pretty light, it managed to do it really easily. It didn't tire my arms out. The whole thing is actually really ergonomic, which is a really, really good positive thing. My biggest takeaway from this is, for some people, the noise might be a little bit too much. So again, you've probably seen that from some of the B-roll. If not, I'll play some now so you can hear it at full volume. So it is a little bit on the loud side, but again, like I said earlier, you do get a really good amount of suction on there. Another thing which probably some people may be slightly against is the actual opening mechanism. Now, obviously it works very well, and you just flick the button there and it pops open, which is actually stuff in there at the moment, so I probably shouldn't do that. It doesn't always empty out completely, so I'd have liked to have seen that being flat, so if need be you can just brush out quite easily. And also, because of the filter housing being quite large, sometimes you are going to get kind of fur balls and hairballs actually stuck on the inside, but that is a pretty much inherent thing of most of these style of vacuums. But overall, I'm very impressed with it, and we are going to be collaborating with iLife. They have said they're going to try and provide viewers of Mike's Unboxing a discount code, so we will be putting that in the description below. It will be an affiliated code from Amazon, so obviously do check the pricing on there, and we'll try and get links for kind of global as well. So if you're in another country and you want to take advantage of this particular vacuum and get potentially a little bit of a discount on it, then there should be links in the description for you. So I think that's going to pretty much wrap it up. Overall, yep, great battery life. In fact, the battery life, I used it for about 20 minutes or so, and I think it's still actually on setting number 3, so it means it's essentially at least half full, that kind of thing. So yeah, the battery life was excellent, very easy to use. The turbo button works very well and actually does give you a massive, massive boost in performance. But saying that, you probably won't need it. The standard setting is absolutely fine. So let me know what you think about this one in the comments section below. Is this the sort of vacuum you would use? I think for most people, this is going to be fine for most households. If you're in a DIY situation, maybe you're doing, I don't know, maybe some kind of joinery, carpentry, and you've got that kind of dust coming from sawing wood, that sort of stuff, or machining wood. Yeah, this is going to be great. It's quite an industrial vacuum. It's got a lot of power, picks up those bigger bits very easily. And if you want to use it just on smaller, finer bits like cat fur or black pepper on the floor, then again, it's going to be absolutely perfect. So anyway, like I said, leave a comment in the video section below. In the meantime, I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll see you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.